30 degrees.
Indianapolis Center, do you have any test operations restricted area 2508?
Aries 31, roger. Traffic is quite luminous and is exhibiting some non-ballistic motion, over.
Roger, Aries 31. Continue to send at your discretion, over.
Okay, Center. The traffic is approaching head-on, ultra bright, and really moving. It's right by us right now.
There are 1,000 UFO sightings reported around the world every month. 90% of these sightings can be explained, but 10% cannot. Officially and unofficially, the U.S. military has been investigating UFOs since 1947. Their top secret goal is to find out what's behind these unexplained sightings. The Pentagon classifies them as unusual airborne anomalies, but a better term is X-Files. Join us now as Mack Maloney and Commander Cobra explore these unsolved cases, UFO incidents that baffle even the U.S. military. This is Mack Maloney's Military X-Files. And now, here's Mack Maloney.
Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. This is Mack Maloney. What a show we have for you tonight. But first, let's introduce the members of the posse. Girls, get ready. Sit yourself down. Get the fan going. Get the mister going. Big box of Kleenex. And I got a feeling it's going to be a big box of wipes. Kind of night, because the very famous Juan-Juan is here.
Hello, Mac. How's it going tonight? Glad to be here, as always.
Yes.
Hello, ladies. Glad you girls have been here.
Well, yes.
You know, the more the merrier.
Everything okay with you before we go up the totem pole?
Yeah, everything's cool. Yeah, looking forward to spring, and looking forward to summer.
How ironic. Okay.
Bikini weather.
Let me introduce the
I tried
rest
a new bikini
of the gang. Did you? Oh, really? Oh, boy. Okay, there's another show. Up there in the Great White North, in a compound, formerly a bunker, now a compound due to tax reasons. They call him Coco on the street. We know him as Commander Cobra. CC.
Mac, as always, a pleasure to join the formation.
Good.
Privilege to fly with you guys tonight.
Good.
I salute you and thank you for your service.
Yep. Your pig is
Same
getting
to you, Juan-Juan.
your pig is getting a lot of email, fan mail, but we'll talk about that in a minute, okay? Going up the totem pole a little bit more. No, it's actually going down. I don't know what direction we're going in, but up there in Battle Creek, Michigan, looking very bizarre tonight. I'm getting worried about this cat. Switchblade Steve Ward, who looks like he has some kind of a, I don't know. What do you have in your head there? I mean, Switchy, how you doing tonight? Switch, how you doing?
I'm doing great, but it's just that I've become a little bit perturbed about all the speculation as to whether or not I wear a toupee.
Yes.
And somebody keeps claiming that the part changes back and forth on my hair during the show. So I thought I would
Who's
spend
doing your hair?
$10 and do something about
So you put a mop on your head? Was that your plan?
Well, no, I think actually this is supposed to be a wig.
Oh, okay, exactly. Wow.
Well, it looks better than that other rug you wear.
Oh,
like
wow. Holy shit.
Once worn by Einstein.
Oh, yeah, really? Yeah? Okay.
I get it.
Maybe
Yeah,
someone will
I
rub
get it.
off.
Okay.
Listen, that voice you just heard is a good friend, Willie Clubb, and beautiful Methuen, Mass. Security Chief. Willie, how you doing?
Good, Mac. It's great to be here. Great to see everyone.
Good.
I feel the electricity in the air tonight.
Is that what it is?
Definitely.
Okay.
Oh, you know it.
Let's see. Okay, this is Beauty and the Beast, and here's the beauty. Up there in upstate New York, I don't know why, I always have to kind of locate her for some reason. Winona Ryder look-alike. Raven. Raven Winona. What is it? Raven Ryder? No, what is it?
It's Winona Raven.
Winona Raven. Let's come on. We have to clap for her now because I goofed up her. Hi, Raven.
Hi.
How you doing?
How are you?
Good.
Yeah.
I want to say to you,
It's got a face for TV.
It's radio, yeah, and the rest of us have faces for radio. Hey, listen, this is showbiz talk, but I want to ask you, how are the cans?
How are the cans? Oh, me. Oh, I was thinking something else.
Okay.
Good.
So was I.
That's dirty. Take your
I'm
mind
like,
out and go.
they're fine,
Good.
I guess.
Good to hear. Okay. Anyway, listening in.
Yeah,
on
we're
us.
talking about headphones.
Yes,
Yeah, they look good, I got to
They
say.
look good, yes.
Yeah. Headphones are good, too.
Right,
It's a great pair you got there, I'll tell you.
What grade are you in, Juan-Juan? Also, speaking about adolescent behavior, friend Agent X is with us, the man who works for the agency that works for the agencies. X, you okay?
Never better. Hello, Mac and crew, and thanks for having me. Looking forward to this gathering.
You paid your electric bill because we can see you.
Sure.
We can finally see
And
him.
by the way, happy St. Patrick's Day, pre-St. Patrick's Day to everybody out there.
Thank you.
We're
Thank
timeless,
you.
so
Got my clattering on as always.
There you go. I got my
man.
Green Lantern ring on. There you go. That's my power ring. Okay, so anyway,
My scaly cap on.
as Juan-Juan mentioned, spring is in the air. Mm-hmm. So we just happen to have, even though a busy show tonight, we have a bit, and you know what the bit is? Top 10 reasons Juan-Juan knows it's spring. Okay? Top 10 reasons.
Oh, boy.
Juan-Juan knows it's spring. Raven, you have the list?
I got the list.
Okay,
Y'all
please.
ready?
Number 10.
I guess.
Top 10 reasons Juan-Juan knows it's spring.
He stops feeding. He stops feeding his wild turkeys and starts drinking it.
right? That's a sure spring, right?
That's a good one.
It's better than Robin's showing up. Okay, number 9. Please, top 10 reasons Juan-Juan knows it's spring. He demands lighter, sweeter syrup in his chocolate martinis. See, right? He doesn't want to be heavy. You don't want to be weighed down with that extra Bosco stuff, right? Okay.
I haven't really hit that one yet.
Okay, because it's not spring. Number 8, please, Raven. Top 10 reasons Juan-Juan knows it's spring.
He switches from his dark blue winter scene stationery to his bright pink springtime stationery when writing his daily 10-page love letter to British actress Lily James.
Right. That's
seasonal.
peeking, huh? Both sides, right? Front and back, 10 pages, front and back, correct?
Very flowering prose.
Yes. What a surprise. Next, please, Raven. Top 10 reasons Juan-Juan knows it's spring.
He begins rehearsals for his one-man play, A Wood Nymph Reborn.
Oh, wow. When are we going to see that?
It's going to be on PBS, right?
Is it real? Where else?
Consulting with my costume designer for the outfit.
Really? In Bravo. Yeah, okay. We're looking forward to that. Please, Raven. Next, top 10
6.
reasons why Momo knows
His weekly pedicures become daily ones.
That's where he is every morning now, right? Yep. Okay, that's a spring ritual. Okay. All right. Go ahead, please. Next one. We're going to have to sweeten this up. Go ahead.
He switches to a higher SPF body moisturizer.
Yes.
Right, yes. Because the sun, because you're out in the sun more. Wow, okay.
Also critical for the nymph show. I mean, if you're going to do the wood nymph, you've got to have that full body, high moisture, high density sun protection.
Right. Well, he's on it. Please, next one. Let's get to the end of this.
because I'm out there in the public.
That's the problem. Yes. Please, Raven. Top 10 reasons Juan-Juan knows it's spring.
He gets his official Rolling Stones big tongue towel dry cleaned in anticipation for another summer, wowing the chicks at Hampton Beach.
Oh, yes.
Yes. I got it ready to go.
Is it really
drying out on the?
Oh, drying out. You don't iron it. You let it. Okay. Yeah. Very interesting. Okay, please.
Yeah, it's right over here.
Let's pull this train into the station quickly. How many more do we have here, Raven? Top 10 reasons.
We're at number 3.
Number 3. Top 10 reasons Juan-Juan knows it's spring.
All his elves have Irish accents for a day.
There you go, right?
They're all running around going, where's my pot of gold?
Where's my pot? Yes. What's going on up in Juan-Juan's farm? No one knows. Please. Next one, please. Hopefully. Number 2.
He starts wearing his white patent leather fence climbers and matching belt.
Okay, now that's going too far. I don't know about that.
Okay. Wow, fence climbers. When's the last time you heard that?
Please.
Okay, please. And now,
sheesh.
Raven, top 10 reasons why Juan-Juan knows it's spring.
Let me guess it. I took my snow tires off.
That'd be too easy.
Yes?
No.
That's not the one?
No.
Where are we?
Okay.
We're at number 1.
Okay. Top 10 reasons.
He wakes up one day, looks out of his window, and says, hey, where did all that white stuff go?
Yeah, I did that.
Yeah, we used to say that in college.
I watched it melt the other day.
Awesome. Wow. That's going to cost about $40.
The turkeys are still out there eating me out of house and home.
In laughter and clapping on that one. Okay, so anyway, that's the comedy part of this show. So why don't we do this? Why don't we take a commercial break now? And we'll be right back. We're going to be talking tonight to two interesting people, guests. Phil Orbanes is going to be joining us very soon. Going to be talking about another in his series about very heroic World War II, female spies. A lot of people like the series he's doing. He's going to be talking about another one. I think her name is Virginia Hall. Turns out that these female spies during World War II did all these incredible things. Phil's going to tell us about it. Later on, we're going to be talking to Bill Ray, who was involved in the military end of the remote viewing research, let's say, that was happening in the early 90s, where the U.S. military actually recruited people and had programs for people who had ESP abilities, and they were looking for things like Russian submarines and Russian missile bases and stuff. Bill's going to be here talking to us about it. So why don't we do this? Why don't we take a commercial break now, and we'll be right back after this. You're listening to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. We'll be right back.
UFOs are found in Renaissance art, on ancient coins, and etched on cave walls. They're even reported in the Bible. But more surprising is when UFOs are seen the most, in times of war. Through centuries, thousands of UFO sightings have been made by high-ranking officials, military pilots, and ordinary soldiers. Often, these fantastic appearances occur at the height of great battles. From World War I to D-Day, to Korea, Vietnam, and beyond, military investigators are baffled. Why do UFO sightings spike so drastically during wartime? Could it be mistaken aircraft, or is someone, or something, looking in on us? In UFOs in Wartime, What They Didn't Want You to Know, Mack Maloney chronicles centuries of these incredible sightings and tries to solve the puzzle of why so many UFOs are seen while humanity is at war. Read about the scare ships, the ghost planes, and the ghost rockets, alien giants in the jungles of Vietnam, UFOs controlling our ICBM bases, dogfights with flying saucers during the Gulf War, and more. 300 pages of unbelievable stories, along with many startling photographs. That's UFOs in Wartime, What They Didn't Want You to Know, by Mack Maloney. On sale at your local bookstore or on Amazon.com.
And I just kept going on and on about myself. I'm taking a leak in the driveway. She says, I know you'd like to talk to total stranger. The story's got nothing to do with the Bruins game. It's what happened with Grandma. I was wondering if those were sadomasochism straps or something. But I digress. From what, I don't know.
Get into the beautiful mind of Juan-Juan, only on the Mack Maloney Military X-Files show.
Welcome back, everyone, to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. Where are my shades? There they are. This is Mack Maloney. Wow, what a show we have for you tonight. Very quickly, let's introduce the members of the posse. The very famous Juan-Juan is here. Juani.
Hello, Mac. How's it going? Glad to be here.
Coco and his pig is here.
Looking forward to a great show again.
Cobra.
Evening, Mac, on the wing with the Zeppelin.
The Zeppelin.
We have a Zeppelin in the formation tonight.
Right, the pig. Zeppelin the pig. Zeppelin the pig is getting marriage proposals.
Bacon.
Yeah, bacon. Oh, bacon. Who said bacon? That's not nice. Switchblade Steve Ward up there in Battle Creek, Michigan. Switchy, how you doing?
Great to be here.
Okay.
Good. Yeah, wonderful.
Security Chief Willie Clubb. Beautiful Methuen, Mass. Willie.
Hi, Mac. Hi, folks. Great to be here.
All excited about the Patriots, I'm sure.
I see you, Club.
Also,
Oh, you bet.
we are the beast. She is the beauty. Raven is joining us tonight. Hi, Raven. How are you doing?
Hello, hello. Thanks
Hello,
for having
Raven.
me.
Okay, she's still here, guys. That's a good sign. And also, Agent X lurking in on us. You paid your light bill. We can see you.
Hello,
Excellent. Good for you.
hello, Mac, and thanks for having me. And not all of us are beasts, I may add.
Yeah? Well, she's shaking her head. She's disagreeing with you there, actually. But anyway,
Yeah.
let's get to our extra special guest. Our good friend Phil Orbanes is with us. Phil, how are you doing tonight?
Marvelous. Thank you very much.
Phil is he's many things. He is the CEO of Winning Moves. Are you the past CEO? What is your title there, Phil? I keep forgetting.
I'm the past president. I'm retired. I'm vice chairman now, which basically means I'm available for advice, but I don't have any responsibility.
Nice.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's a good setup.
Winning Moves.
And they're doing quite well without me.
That's cool. Winning Moves is the company that makes a lot of board games that, we all grew up with and love, like, Risk and certain kinds of Monopoly. They make Rubik's Cube. They make the Ouija board. Just about every... everything. All the classics, somehow, some way, they come out of Winning Moves, Phil's company. And Phil also is someone who's a historian and who is interested in what a lot of us are interested in, and that's spy stories, especially on World War II. So before we get to your report, though, Phil, let me just quickly go to Switch, because this is the skew of the show, the most listened to part of the show. Switchy, we talked a little bit off air. I told you, please don't tell me what you had for breakfast today, but now, what did you have for breakfast?
Well, this morning, Mac, I went to the dentist. And as is my wont, when I go to the dentist, it just takes a slight curve on the way home to stop by Sweetwater's Donut Shop.
Oh.
So since I didn't have any cavities or x-rays or any problems, I celebrated by getting started early on the next set of cavities and stopped by Sweetwater's.
Cool,
nice.
Nice.
2 donuts.
2 donuts.
And a cup of coffee. I had it there, so you can get like refills.
Okay.
I brought a book, and I just kind of got comfortable and read for a little while.
Brought a book.
And I had a maple ice cake.
Yes.
Ooh.
And a lemon-filled donut.
He sent me pictures. Yeah, he sent me pictures.
Did you bring back a dozen too for?
No. I have some restraint.
It's just between him and the donuts, So wow, that sounds good. Switchy sounds healthy. Sounds healthy, right? Do you work off all that sugar during the day?
Well, it's healthy that it didn't bring back the dozen, I guess.
No, there you go. That's right. Well, you're thinking,
you exercise the restraint and be a good man.
Right.
Yeah, here you go.
So anyway, okay.
No sugar in the coffee.
Is a donut an American confection invention or what? Is it?
Wow, good question.
Is it really? We can look it up later.
So.
Yeah, it's probably French. Sounds French. So listen.
It's got to be.
Phil, so tonight we're talking about another in this kind of series of female spies, World War II. And this particular spy's name was Virginia Hall, right?
That's correct.
Okay, take it away.
All right. Well, I've decided that tonight I'm not going to start the story of this amazing heroine, this secret agent in World War II from the beginning. I'm not going to tell you yet about her upbringing in Baltimore, Maryland, or her great years in college at Radcliffe and Barnard, or her proficiency in 3 European languages, or her many years of service in American embassies in various European countries, or her love of sport and hunting, but rather I'm going to start on a particular day which became the crisis in the life of this secret agent. And the day in question was November 7, 1942. And the reason why that was crucial is that from August of 41 until November of 1942, Virginia Hall was the most effective agent in France. She was the most wanted by the Germans. She did not work for any American agency because we had yet to set one up. Rather, she worked for the British. And she was part of the Special Operations Executive, which was Churchill's pet agency, whose aim was to create mayhem and trepidation for occupying German troops in Western Europe by means of sabotage and espionage, reconnaissance, and whatnot, and just making life, unpredictable for them. But on November 7th, after all of these months of being very effective as leading a group of French resistance fighters on behalf of the British, everything changed for Virginia. And the reason it changed was the American embassy got word to her that on the following day, the American army was going to land in North Africa. My dad, by the way, was part of that invasion, so I heard quite a bit about it when I was very young. Now, the reason why this was a game changer for Virginia Hall is she was operating out of Lyon in Vichy, France, which was the unoccupied but German sympathetic portion of France. And she didn't have to worry that much about the Gestapo or other German units hunting her down. But it was a certainty that once the American invasion of North Africa took place, the Germans would have no recourse then to quickly occupy southern France and secure Marseille and its southern coast, so the Americans just couldn't walk into the soft underbelly of France. That meant no matter how effective Virginia Hall was, she had to leave. And so very quickly, arrangements were made for her and 3 other European resistance members to go to the Pyrenees and cross them into Spain in order to avoid certain capture by the Germans. The Pyrenees are probably the most formidable national barrier separating 2 landlocked countries on Earth. It's a hugely forbidding range. It's not one mountain that needs to be crossed to go from one country to the other. It's 5. And in November, they're all snow-covered. They are prone to gales. There are deep valleys that have to be walked down into before coming up on the next mountain. And Virginia Hall had 50 miles on this journey to undertake in order to reach the relative safety of neutral Spain. But why was this so significant for her in particular? It's because Virginia Hall had a wooden leg with an articulated foot, but still it was extremely difficult in normal walking for her, because the stump would rub against the wooden leg and a special sock had to be fitted in. But now just imagine, you're going up and down steep mountains with no guardrails, no barriers to your untimely end if you slip. And she's doing this in this incredibly bad, climate on a wooden leg. Now, how did she get the wooden leg? Well, in 1933, which was 9 years earlier, during one of her assignments in Turkey with the embassy there, she went on a hunting trip with other members of the embassy. And while she was climbing over a rail fence, she slipped and her gun went off and she shot herself in the foot. So now Virginia Hall, who at that time is 33 years old, she was born in 1906. She was 27 years old. She was born in 1906. Is far away from home. She's not really near good medical care, and gangrene threatens to set in. So there was nothing that could be done but to take the leg below the knee and fit her with an artificial leg. They did do this very carefully, and they developed an articulated foot. So after a while, she really believed that she was walking without drawing any attention to her infirmary. And yet, despite this, she insisted the moment war broke out that she go back into Europe to help the resistance in France. And she managed to achieve her goal by making contact with the SOE in London. And if you remember in my last appearance on Mack's show, I talked about Vera Atkins, who was, for all intents and purposes, the main leader of F section of the SOE, the F section being responsible for France. And Vera Atkins trained Virginia Hall, or had her trained in any number of skills, including demolition and sabotage of all natures, blowing up anything you can imagine. She knew how to do it. And she sent Virginia Hall back as the first female agent in the SOE. Ultimately, I think a little bit more than 100 females were sent in, and 26 of them lost their lives, as I recall. So now Virginia Hall makes it across the border into Spain, and she's on her way to the American consulate in Barcelona when she's arrested by the Spanish. But she's clever enough to make contact with the American consulate, and they get her out. And for several more months, she stays in Spain and does some work for the British SOE, primarily in intelligence. But remember, she's an American. And I'm going to back up a little bit and say, as I had mentioned very quickly, she was born in Baltimore. She was always athletic. She was always tall for her age. She was a brilliant student. She learned French, Italian, and German while at college, and that prepared her for a great future, she thought, in the consular service, and her ambition was always to be a diplomat. But as was sadly true in that days, virtually no female had hopes of becoming a full-fledged diplomat. And after she had this unfortunate hunting accident, believe it or not, they even had restrictions against people with infirmaries or handicaps from becoming a diplomat. She personally wrote to Franklin Roosevelt, who himself was disabled, as president of the United States, and said in so many words, look, I can do this. This is not, going to stop me from, fulfilling my role for my country as diplomat. And he didn't even heed the call for her.
Is that right? Jesus.
She, which is one reason why she ended up volunteering to help the British, because the British, especially with Churchill's directive, they didn't really care who you were, where you came from, as long as you had the skills and the will, and especially the language capability to blend in France.
Right.
So when she was in France, she very often would disguise herself as, say, a milkmaid. This is prior to her flight. She was adept at riding a bicycle. And, in France, without petrol and without private cars being able to, get you back and forth, bicycling was common. The Germans tended not to pay attention to women, period, because of their own, narrow-minded beliefs.
Okay.
And if they saw Virginia Hall on a bicycle peddling milk or selling them cheese or whatnot, so what? She found out after she got to Spain that she was number one on their most wanted list, and they referred to her as the limping lady. And that really bothered her because she thought she had artfully disguised her infirmary.
Yes.
But the Germans had picked up on it. They noticed she had a slight limp. And of course, once they got into Vichy, France, Klaus Barbie became the head of the Gestapo in Lyon, the town that she lived in, or had been in before she fled. And, Barbie, of course, was one of the most atrocious people you can imagine for the remainder of the war. He was the one who made her number one on the hit parade, so to speak. And she now, after getting across the Andes, the Pyrenees, is faced with, well, what do I do next? And she didn't really want to stay in Spain and just do intelligence work. So she returned to London in time to join the new American spy agency, the OSS. Run by Alan Dulles in Switzerland and by William Donovan in the U.S. And she basically said to them, look, the SOE doesn't want me to go back into France. I want to go back. And the OSS said, you know what? You have everything we need for our new service, but we want you to be a wireless operator. We want you to go back. We want you to coordinate a network. She had coordinated a fairly large network before that was known as the Hettler Network. They all had code names of resistance fighters. We're going to put you in with a new network. You're going to be the wireless operator, and with all of your skills and whatnot, you're actually going to be, in effect, co-commander. So she jumped on it. She learned how to work a wireless machine. And when she got back into France, she came up with one of the most ingenious workarounds to the Germans' detection system that you could imagine. You see, the Germans always knew when a message was being transmitted because they had vans in these key cities like Lyon or Paris or whatnot that were zeroing in through triangulation on the location where the signal was coming.
Illegal
If
radios.
you were a wireless operator operating on behalf of one of the many resistance networks, you always had a particular time, which changed, on certain days that you would transmit, because the people back home in southern England would be listening in. Well, you had to get your message out rapidly before you could be triangulated.
Yes.
And very often when you sent the message, either atmospheric conditions or maybe a keystroke mistake would garble your message. And the folks back in England would say, I didn't get that. Can you repeat the sentence? Now, which further put the operator at risk.
Sure.
But the other thing that they knew to do, the Germans, is to cut the power. So if you're using electrical power and they start cutting the power block by block, the moment the signal that is stopped, they know where you are. Her solution was to take an old bicycle, mount it, and have it connected to a charger and a battery, and have an assistant pedal the whole time that she was transferring.
Yeah.
So they were never able to get her quite as easily. They couldn't cut the power. And here's the most brilliant thing. So now the OSS wants to send her back as a radio operator, but she's got this infirmary, which the Germans are on the lookout for. The limping lady.
Yes.
By the way, they think she's Canadian. They have yet to figure out that she was American, because after all, she's working for the British. How could she be American?
Okay.
America's not in the war at first. So what she does is she agrees to disguise herself as an old woman.
Yes.
She has her hair dyed gray. She even has her teeth filed down to look like that of a peasant woman.
Wow.
I mean, think about that.
Dedication.
That's permanent.
Yeah.
And now her limp is the shuffle of an old woman.
Wow.
So who's going to suspect an old woman walking around, in southern France as being the number one and most hated of all the secret agents working behind the lines?
Right.
She goes back into France with an organizer who she immediately realized is a problem because he talks too much. She makes sure that she never lets the organizer know where she is, because this guy is prone to arrest and probably to compromise. She had a terrific knack of judging character so that she could single out any security risk and knew how to take proper action to avoid it. Now, the key is the reason why the OSS and the SOE are in France is not only just to continually harass the Germans, but it's also because prior to D-Day, June 6, 1944, they are to play an extremely critical role of making sure reinforcements don't get to the German front lines, that communications are severed, bridges are blown, telephone wires come down. And this is Virginia Hall's shining moment. By this point, she has 150 French resistance agents who adore her, who follow her commands because, number one, she gets them ammunition, she gets them food, she gets them money, she gets them any supplies they need. She personally, on her bicycle, goes around and finds ideal landing spots for this stuff. She has to be there to signal when the drop is made. She has to establish safe houses, and she is, she's flawless at this. So the resistance members think that she is, their key to heaven, so to speak. So they're very effective at blowing bridges and whatnot prior to D-Day. And then, as we may remember, on August 15th comes the invasion of South France. And here is where she no longer is required to go undercover. So she quits her disguise. She takes the rank of a second lieutenant. She makes her headquarters south of Lyon, and her job is to make sure that no reinforcements get in there, and more importantly, that retreating units are decimated.
Wow.
So by this point, she has 1,500 resistance fighters who are beholden to her. 3 plane loads of supplies come in late July, a lot of money, and she has to, she has now an unexpected problem. Her radio is kaput. I forget whether it was dropped inadvertently or it was crushed or something. But she has to now coordinate the final orders and dispositions back to OSS in London. The nearest operator that she's aware of, because most of the people in the resistance only know who was within their group, is 150 miles away. She bicycles there.
Wow.
In record time. Can you imagine? With a wooden leg, she has to go 150 miles. She has to find this operator. She's got to communicate, let the London office know how to reach her, and then she has to make the final drop for the 1,500 men who are going to sabotage the Germans as they try to pull out of Marseille and flee back toward Lyon. So needless to say, she succeeds.
Mm-hmm.
And she destroys 4 bridges. They derail train after train. They cut strategic line of communication. And they even capture 500 German soldiers.
Wow.
So on the 22nd of September, the war is pretty much over in France. She and an OSS agent whom she will later marry, they journey to Paris. There's a brief celebration. She writes up her reports. She tracks down a lot of the bad people who had murdered some of the agents working for her.
Mm-hmm.
And then she goes home. You would think that after this incredible career and all that she went through, that she would like nothing better than to relax and live out her days on her husband's farm. But no,
adrenaline junkie.
The OSS becomes the CIA in 1947, and she's the first woman hired to work in the CIA. Even though she's desk-bound because they're not going to send her back in the field again.
Right.
But her job is to gather information about the Soviet penetration of Europe, and she stays there until she is retired at a mandatory retirement age of 60. That's in 1966. But here's what's most significant, as is true with so many of these secret agents, especially the women like Vera Atkins in the last time I was here.
Sure.
She says nothing to anybody about what she did.
Amazing.
In part because she just refuses to talk about her World War II experience because, again, she's with the CIA and she doesn't want anybody connecting the dots that she, in fact, was the woman who did all these wonderful things during the war. She just feels her role is to slip into obscurity. And she, once again, succeeds completely. So Virginia Hall dies without any recognition, without ever having sought recognition. She is given private awards. There were supposed to be public ceremonies on behalf of the awards that she was to receive from France and England, and also President Truman wanted a public awarding of a medal for her, but she demurred in every case, saying, when Truman wanted to do it, I'm still operational. I'm anxious to stay operational. I don't want anybody to know any of this.
Right.
So all of her awards were made in private.
Right. Hey, listen, Phil, we have
and I think there's even.
I was going to say we have like 4 minutes left, and I just want to ask 2 questions. Go ahead, finish your thought, please.
That's really basically about it. She is recognized in the CIA museum. She may be one of those who are, cryptically recognized in CIA headquarters, but that's Virginia Hall.
So let me 2 questions real quick. Now, first of all, I know this is going to be a crazy question, but these people got paid, right? I mean, this was a paid gig, right, for people like her?
Yeah, and here's how it worked. That's a great question, because what happened would be they would be paid back in London. Okay. And the money was then deposited in the bank account for the most part of their mothers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, their mothers.
Yeah.
Back home in the States. In other words, they never saw the money. The money went home.
Wow.
They couldn't trace that. On the other hand, these agents in the field were given lavish amounts of money to use to buy things or for bribes or whatnot. I mean, they were given, 500,000, let's say, French francs, which I forget how many pounds that was, but
it's a lot of
5,000 or something, U.S. dollars or whatever. But they had spending money. They didn't really need money in the field, but they were paid. And Vera Atkins, in particular, was responsible. She's a very responsible person. She would send the money home to the individual's bank account, which was always a relative, never in their name. And periodically, she would send their next of kin, typically their mother, a very general letter that just said, we've heard, from your daughter, all is well. She sends her love. And they would never be specific or say, where the daughter was. They would never reveal that she was in harm's way, that she was doing something of great value, to the effort.
Recently, we've seen a lot of movies and documentaries, books, and everything about women who helped NASA in a great degree get to the moon and had a part in some of their other successes. We didn't hear of these women before. Do you think someday in the future, I'm just going to ask you to project, that these people they'll get their due too? These female agents that we've been talking about?
Well, both Vera Atkins and Virginia Hall and others have had some documentaries made about them, but they've had basically small audiences. What we really need is a widely distributed movie that not just dramatizes what they did, but shows vividly that the impact that they had. Churchill in particular believes the war was shortened by 6 months strictly by the efforts of the SOE and the OSS.
That's amazing, yeah. And they were a big part of that. Hey, Phil, thank you. Thank you. Let's give Phil a round of applause, please.
Yeah, amazing story.
Yeah, it's really something else.
Really good.
It's very interesting. Phil, thank you for joining us. Phil Orbanes.
Thank you very much.
Winning Moves. All those classic board games that you know and love. Phil is in there somewhere. And also the Rubik's Cube, correct, Phil?
That's correct.
Can you? What's
and
your
all the variations thereof?
What's your fastest solve time for the Rubik's Cube? I'm going to think like 3 seconds or something, right?
Oh, no. I solved it once and retired.
Did you really?
I think it took me about 9 minutes. Really? But on the other hand, my older grandson, when he was 9, learned through his teacher in school, and in the six easy lessons, he can do it in about a minute and a half.
Wow.
I think the world's record is like -3 seconds. It just gets so incredibly short.
Yeah.
No, honestly, it's probably in the 5 or 6 second category.
That's nuts.
Now.
That's beyond. Yeah, that's really. Well, listen, hey Phil.
This is pretty amazing because.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Please go ahead.
I was going to say it's pretty amazing because Erno Rubik, the inventor of the Rubik's Cube, thought it could never be solved.
Really? Yeah.
Once scrambled.
Well, they fooled him.
Initially, that was his belief. Yeah.
Phil,
fooled him.
Thank you, Phil, for joining us. Phil Orbanes of Winning Moves. Thank you, and we'll talk to you very soon. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, Phil.
You guys all stay well.
Okay. You
okay,
too.
we will.
Hey, you're listening.
Bye.
You're listening
Bye.
You're listening
Great to talk to you tonight.
Okay. Good night. Bye-bye.
Night.
You're listening to Mack Maloney's Military Exile Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. We'll be right back after this.
Do you know where the world's most secret bases are located? Do you know what spooky action at a distance means? Is there a conspiracy by aliens to prevent us from conquering space? And where is the best place in the United States to see a real UFO? Find the answers to all these questions and more in Mack Maloney's new book, Mack Maloney's Haunted Universe. Visit places you never knew existed. The Phantom Tunnels of Tokyo, the UFO Trail in South America, Hong's Hat, and the very mysterious M Triangle. Mack Maloney's Haunted Universe contains hundreds of reports on ghosts, haunted planes and ships, weird celebrity deaths, mysterious sounds, and a breakdown of every monster in America, state by state. You've heard him talk about it on the radio. Now, get all of Mack's paranormal research in one large volume. Mack Maloney's Haunted Universe, with a foreword by the very famous Juan-Juan. On sale now in your local bookstore or on Amazon.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to Mack Maloney's Military Exile Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. This is Macaroni. Well, what a show we have for you tonight. But let's really quickly go up and down the totem pole and introduce the Posse Girls. The very famous Juan-Juan is here. If you're still with us, if you're still conscious, I hate to use that word, but he's still here. Juani.
Hello, Mac. Hello, girls. Hello, everybody. And all ships at sea, welcome to the continuing saga here that we call the show.
Yes, the show. Also, up
the
there,
show. It's awesome. Intriguing.
It's intriguing is the word, yes. Up there in the great state of Maine, in his compound, formerly a bunker. The title changed for tax reasons. They know him as Coquitlam Street. We know him as Commander Cobra. CC, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Mac. Thanks. Okay. I always love being your slot man here in the formation, and I don't see it as a saga. It's an adventure every time we hit the starter here.
Really? Yeah. Okay. Good for you. I have to agree. Anyway, up there in the Bowl of Flakes, the Battle Creek of the Republic national correspondent, Switchblade Steve Ward. Switchy.
It's great to be here, and I'm not sure what the difference is between a saga and an adventure. But I'm going to let it go.
Well, let it go. That's another show.
That's the best option.
He's 2 donuts into the day, folks. Anyway, also.
It's the hypoglycemia talking. It still hasn't come down from the sugar high.
It's the lemon filling talking. I'm going to go to the beauty first. I'm sorry for everyone else on the totem pole. Winona Ryder lookalike. Winona Raven. Is that it? Winona Raven?
That's it.
That's
Winona Raven.
Raven, how you doing tonight?
Hello. You guys can call me whatever you want. I've been called worse. So.
Don't say that to this crowd, believe me. Our security chief, beautiful Methuen, Massachusetts, Willie Clubb. Willie, how you doing?
Hi, Mac. Hi, gang. Yeah, very informative so far.
All right.
Looking forward to learning some more.
Yeah.
It's fun, isn't it? I've been taking notes, actually.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Also, the man who works for the agency that works for the agencies, Agent X is with us. Exy. You okay?
Hello, Mac, and thanks for having me. It's great to be with the usual jovial crew and also with one of my former buds from the Cold War and from the intelligence games and from days gone past.
Yes, right. And he's
well introduced.
That's great.
Yeah,
Is this like a reunion tonight?
Well, let me introduce him. Let's introduce him, and we'll see.
Really?
Bill Ray. Bill Ray is our guest. Bill Ray. Major Bill Ray. Let's please give him a round of applause, please. 3 hands clapping.
We salute you, Bill Ray.
Major Bill Ray.
Back to you.
We'll sweeten that up. So Bill is someone who served for a long time in the U.S. Army, and one of the assignments he had was in the U.S. military's remote viewing program, which we talk about a lot on the air, but we have a lot of questions. Bill, how are you doing tonight?
Doing great. I'm very excited to be here with you guys.
Really? Where are you? Where are you located?
Some old friends.
Real old.
I'm in Wisconsin. Yeah.
Really?
Right now, my wife and I are on a getaway. We're in a hotel. So.
Oh, really?
No
okay.
kidding.
All right.
Hotel in Wisconsin.
TMI?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So you went to Wisconsin. Was it a second honeymoon type thing in Wisconsin?
Yeah, you could say that without going any further. Yeah.
Huh. Why Wisconsin, if you don't mind me asking? Is it the love capital of the planet?
Well, after doing 50 years with the military, I always figured we'd retire in the Southwest, and we did. And Sandy and I had 6 kids ourselves, but one of our kids had moved to Las Cruces, New Mexico, where I was working out of White Sands at the time.
Yes.
And had 3 grandkids born in Las Cruces, and then their parents moved to Wisconsin.
Wow.
Which I didn't really give much care about, but they took the grandkids with them.
So you were in the Army. You were in the Army. How many years total were you in the Army?
Active duty, about 26, and then I retired and came back to the Department of Army Civilian for another 24.
Okay, and did you
about 50 years total?
Did you win as an officer? Did you start as an officer?
No, majority of my active duty career, I was enlisted.
Okay.
And then went to OCS. I was almost 33. I was close to 7 years old.
Officer candidate person. Officer candidate school. Yep. And you did it.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool.
I'm sorry. Yep.
So now, when you first became an officer, what did you start? What was your first assignment as an officer?
Very strange. My first assignment as an officer was as an instructor at the U.S. Army Intelligence Center and School. I taught at the school for 3 years there, and stayed around Fort Huachuca a little more. And then in 1983, I got asked to join the project.
Okay, let's go from there.
And I did. Yep.
Let's identify the project. What did they call it? What was the official name of the project?
At that time, the code word was Grill Flame.
Grill Flame. Okay.
Later to become Center Lane, and then the eventual code word Stargate was the project.
And just in a word,
a lot of strange.
In a word, in an elevator pitch, what did the military want to do? Did they want to recruit people who they thought had ESP capabilities to kind of spy on the Russians with these capabilities? Is that right?
They wanted people to spy on the Russians. And I am, as far as ESP capabilities, anybody can remote view. And we gave a series of tests, which I'm not sure ever meant anything.
Okay.
But they became aware of me. The name Skip Atwater came up earlier, prior to the podcast beginning. Skip was an E6 at the time working for me. And he was a very intelligent, very qualified young soldier. He was working on his master's degree, was a tech specialist, spoke Spanish. And I kept talking to him and harassing him to go to OCS, where he could better serve the Army. And eventually he did. And at that time, there was no project. He ended up at Fort Meade in an OPSEC assignment, which is the kiss of death for him. For an intelligence officer. Very boring for a CI officer. But
so
involved in that, and Skip had several out-of-body experiences, those kind of things. Doing this operational security, he went to a commander and was telling him how to protect himself from physical intruders, signal intelligence, and the guy asked him, said, I saw a TV show last night on Russians using remote viewing. How do I protect myself from that? And Skip said, I'll check. He was a second lieutenant now. Went and talked to the INSCOM Intelligence and Security Command commander, the 2-star in charge of all Army intelligence units. And he said, I don't know, research it. And Skip had the background to do that. And so he set up basically what was to become a collection project, but it was eventually set up as a defensive project, protection against the Russians who we knew were doing it. And it rapidly became a collection project. He recruited several people, a lot of them part-time. At the time, Stanford Research Institute out in Palo Alto, California, was working on it, had done some work with the CIA. And eventually we sent people out there. They sent people to Fort Meade, and the project was born.
Let me ask you this.
It never was a defensive project.
Let me ask you this. So
we collected, and that was it.
When you said you went out, they went out and they recruited several people. So the object was, I just want to say it one more time, the object is to get people who might have some kind of ESP capabilities to, I mean, is this how they said it to you? I mean, that we're going to have remote viewers actually try to locate Russian submarines and missile bases and stuff like that. I mean, when they explained your new project to you, did you just say, what is going on here?
Well, the project was what we call a special access program, code word SAP, and you have to be read on to it, and then you're open for polygraph examinations and all those kind of things. We never did come up with a way, I think, and to determine innate psychic ability. In fact, General Stubblebine, he was the unsung commander 7-8 years later, looked at trying to do that and identify people who, one case was a witch and another case was Lynn Buchanan, who had done some things with computers.
Wow.
It didn't help, I don't think.
A witch.
It was anybody can do it. We can train anybody to do it. But it's like riding a bicycle. Some people do it better. Some people do it worse.
Right.
And but the thing is that I don't think there's any way to tell ahead of time how good a remote viewer somebody is going to be.
Wow.
Bill, you did inherit a bit of a program, right, with McMonagle and the rest of that crew?
Joe, that was the Skip. Joe McMonagle was one of the people Skip hired on or took over. Joe was a warrant officer and probably one of the best remote viewers out there.
Didn't he also have? He was a gifted psychic by itself, and then he was trained in remote viewing.
Well, there are several ways to remote view, and the way Joe does it was the way it was originally done. He picked that up with the SRI. I don't think Joe is, and I don't want to. Joe can do a lot of things. When he developed those talents, I'm not quite sure. He's still very active in the remote viewing field. He's out at the Monroe Institute, Culpeper, Virginia, as are some of the other people.
And it was Ingo Swann, wasn't it, that helped the military develop certain protocols to get this started?
Ingo was who's also passed several years back, and was the one who trained me. There were basically 5 remote viewers trained by Ingo Swann at the time.
This is great. You were like on the ground floor.
Getting in.
So many of us became intrigued. Of course, for years, Coast to Coast AM would have some of the military remote viewers on. After, like you said, in the 90s, it was revealed. And Skip Atwater wrote, Captain of My Ship, Master of My Soul. Lynn wrote The Seventh Sense. And I was just reviewing The Seventh Sense today, and he talks about how, it's interesting how these people were picked. Did you have some say in who the individuals were that you picked to be part of this program?
Yes, when I commanded the program, I basically was the final say. I had a couple thrust on me. One did well, and the other one we eventually got rid of. But we gave them several tests. The Myers-Briggs, and at the time we thought the P's may be better than the.
Remind us, what was the Myers-Briggs test?
Myers-Briggs is a personality test that tests people in 4 major categories: extrovert, introvert, thinking, sensing.
Okay.
The main one, perception and judgment, P and J. Perception is basically more right side of the brain. Judgment's more left side of the brain. People who are J's need closure. People who are P's don't. They love starting things. They excel at languages, arts, writing, those kind of things.
I remember
it was very big in the Army.
Yes,
Switchy,
this NLP.
And in fact, the unofficial rule was if you were ISTJ, like I was, that was considered to be prime officer material.
I could tell that by looking at you, X.
There it is. Yeah, I was an ENTJ when I was a commander.
No wonder you got that job.
Well, I remember Lynn Buchanan saying that he had an incident with some computers. That I won't tell the whole story, but he got very angry because somebody set him up, and he actually fried a bunch of computers. So somebody recognized what was going on there. Can you tell us that story a little bit about why they decided to pick him?
Yep, and that was General Stubblebine. And Lynn was one of the people who I didn't have a choice. He was sent to me. But it was because he did destroy several computers.
With his mind, basically, right?
Yeah, there were several.
He didn't take a hatchet. It was some kind of vibe.
And I have done that several times myself. And said, in fact, I was typing away, and somebody walked in the room and said, "Bill, your monitor is on fire." And attended several courses as a civilian later at Fort Huachuca. You're supposed to type up a course review at the end of it before you can leave. I destroyed 3 computers trying to type it up.
Well, that's music of one years.
Yeah, but that seems to have passed recently.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah. Lynn told a story about how he was picked. I mean, it was very clandestine. It sounds like a black and white film noir movie, with the way he was contacted, and he goes to these old buildings. I remember in the book, it says somebody named Bill welcomed him. Were you the Bill?
Yes, I was.
Okay, because this doesn't give your last name in the book. So we solved another mystery here. That's
there
great.
It is. Yeah.
I can't. Now, have you written a book about your experiences?
No, I think probably the best book out there is Paul Smith, Major, retired also doctor, PhD. Paul's Reading the Enemy's Mind. And then he's also written another one on the basics of remote viewing. And I don't want to get too much in the weeds because of time constraints, but we basically remote viewed 2 different ways when I was there. The one was extended remote viewing, which is basically how Joe McMonagle did it, and still does it. Joe's moved beyond that.
Is that without the protocols?
That is without the step-by-step process. It's basically dark room, you achieve a altered state, you're given the cue, and you go to the target. you can report back while you're at the target. It's not an out-of-body experience where you can't report back. And the monitor can ask you questions about what you're receiving. The other one is the one Reasons Juan came up with, a six-step process where you go from general to specific. You sit down in a room with a pen in your hand and you kind of pull the information into you. At least that's the way it feels to me.
And do they start with a cursor line? Where they just make that squiggle line?
Yes, that's the CRV, controlled remote viewing, which was originally coordinate remote viewing. The thing about remote viewing is the remote viewer cannot know what he's remote viewing.
Because of imagination, right?
Imagination will clip in. And Ingo came up with some steps to control imagination. But still, there are people out there who claim they can do it. For the most part, I'm very skeptical. Mm-hmm. So the viewer has no idea. And what we used to do is with CRV was to give them geographical coordinates, a place on the Earth. And then they would tell you what's happening at the place on the Earth. Then you could move them either geographically or you could move them in time. Mm-hmm. Say, 5 years earlier, something should be perceivable. 2,000 years earlier, something should be perceivable. Really? And the viewer would then go to that site. Eventually, we went to just a series of numbers which had no relation to anything. We tied it into a folder with the target itself, the tasking, and then we just gave them 8 numbers, and that's where they went.
And the numbers was arbitrary, but it was to kind of trigger the process.
Right. Yeah. Okay. It's all intent. The viewer intends to get the information the tasker wants.
I have messed around with this a little bit. I would love to learn how to do this because but I think it's amazing that you learned under Ingo Swann. We've talked about Ingo on this show because of his, he remote viewed, or he was given a target to remote view the far side of the moon. And did you ever have any conversations with him about some of his work?
We talked quite a bit. Yeah. The way we trained was we'd go up to New York City for 1 week. SRI had facilities up there, and then we'd go back to Fort Meade. 4 of us. The fifth viewer had started earlier, Tom McNair. He would go up the other week, and so we flip-flop back and forth. But Ingo had a lot of different theories on learning theory. I think about the first 3 weeks that we did training, he basically laid a pseudoscientific reason why remote viewing works going back 1,000 years, mm-hmm. and which I guess worked pretty good for Paul and Ed, who needed to know there was scientific basis behind it. I'm Irish. You tell me it's magic, and I'll believe you.
Hey, Bill.
So I could have missed this.
Well, did you? Now, were you picked as a remote viewer, or as an administrator, or what was your function?
I came on as a remote viewer. At the time, Lieutenant Colonel Brian Busby was the project commander. We all had additional duties. I basically functioned as the XO. When we were moving over to DIA from the Army. Yes. Yeah. Brian left the unit. I moved up and took over. It was Lieutenant Colonel Slot. I was a captain promotable, as made major along the way. Mm-hmm. But at the time, we had 3 choices. We had the CIA, we had DIA, or we had the Army Medical R&D Command up at Fort Richardson, Northern Maryland. Mm-hmm. I chose to go with DIA because
Defense
the CIA at the time had bombed or mined the harbors in Nicaragua, and were under a lot of strain. They didn't think they could risk anything else. Mm-hmm. I figured if you went to the Medical R&D Command, they'd be shoving tubes in all body orifices and testing to see what happened.
Listen, Bill, let me ask you this.
Just to help establish Bill's bona fides,
yes.
If you don't need it even more.
Go ahead.
When Bill left that assignment, he came over to Western Europe to a counterintelligence unit.
Berlin.
And there were 5 commanders. Bill was a new commander. I think you replaced Chuck Lurie, right?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. So we met Bill, and he came over, and there were 4 other commanders plus Bill. Mm-hmm. And Bill wouldn't say diddly squat about where he came from or what he did. we were all incensed.
Wow, incensed.
Now I know why.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Now he's on the radio with us. Hey, Bill, let me ask you this, okay?
Yes.
So, two questions. First of all, what's the strangest thing that you've seen? What's the most incredible experience of remote viewing that you know about that would prove that this isn't all just kind of vapor?
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
it wasn't your imagination.
Yeah,
You
it wasn't
actually
your
really saw
imagination.
this.
I mean, what's the wildest thing?
I'm going to do two here, I think. The first I will say was Joe McMonagle, something Joe did. One of the things I carried around was a red book, which had every project we had ever been tasked and the feedback from the customer. The first one, and the one I always used was the Typhoon submarine.
There's a Russian sub.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
A Typhoon class Russian sub.
Right. Joe had viewed it. What had happened was there was we picked up satellites and things, which I can say now I couldn't then. And we knew that there was a huge warehouse about 500 meters from the North Sea, I believe it was. I'm not quite at this point. But there was no human intelligence could get inside. Signal intelligence wasn't picking up anything. Satellites weren't getting anything. So the CIA came and tasked us. Said, well, can you see what's there?
Yep.
So Joe went ahead and did numerous viewings on it and came back and sketched things. Said it's a submarine and it's got this huge tail and drew some very precise pictures of it. And I think there were 32 missile tubes and the tubes were slanted. And it was a huge submarine at the time. Right. And the CIA came back and said, well, thank you, but you're wrong. First of all, if it was a submarine, it would be built right on the water, not 500 meters from the water. Yep. There is no submarine in the world with that huge tail, and you can't missile tubes. And we said, okay, we must have missed it.
Okay.
And then 6 months later, they started dredging a trench from the warehouse to the ocean.
Freaking common.
And they wheeled out the Typhoon class submarine.
Huge submarine.
Which Joe had,
Well, listen, Bill, let me ask you something. Let me ask you something. Okay, yes. Now you seem like a very, very reasonable guy. Okay, which is different from people we usually have on the show. Now look, what do you?
A regular guy.
Yeah,
normal guy.
What do you think is going
Drinking
on?
a coffee and hanging out in Wisconsin.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
What do you think
you
is
can't get more regular than that?
What do you think is going on? What do you think is going on? You said that everyone might have this ability, but I mean, what is going on? Is it something that mind to mind? Is it the ESP that we're always hearing about?
Can you be trained?
Well, let's ask.
It's always trained. Yes.
Okay. So the first question first. What do you think it is? Is it mind to mind that everyone can do? We just can't, and we can be trained in it.
We can be trained in it. It's
the question I'm going to ask him.
Oh yeah, there is a lot of the Akashic files. The Eastern philosophy believes that all information is stored
somewhere,
past, present, and future.
Yep.
And it's simply a matter of coming up with an address,
access,
and
how to catalog it.
The original cloud.
Yeah. How to get what you want. Future's a little more iffy for me. We've had some success and some failure with Future, but it's time. Past, present, future. I say you can move somebody in time.
Yes,
you can move somebody geographically. Mm-hmm. What we would normally do is have them acquire a target in present time. And if you wanted to find out what was going on there 4 years earlier, you would simply say, okay, 4 years earlier, something should be perceivable.
Crazy. That's crazy.
And then the person would move there and tell you what was going on 4 years earlier.
Can you track people like this?
An emotional event would attract the viewer.
Can you track people like this? Can you track humans like this?
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Can you figure out the lottery number like this?
Yeah, well, let's see here. That's our question.
Numbers and letters do not come in on the site.
Man, what a jip. Listen,
I've heard people say that.
We had so many people on the show, and they always say the same thing. Why doesn't it work? Why doesn't it work with gambling? Hang on. Why doesn't it work with gambling? We've had so many people on the show, okay, talking about these things, okay, and psychics and everything, but they all say the same thing. It doesn't work like that. And what I want to know is why the other world discriminate against people who gamble.
It's a
I
different
can
ethical
tell you,
standard, I guess.
Yeah, I'll give you the world according to Bill Ray, if I might.
Go ahead. Please.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay, I think there's a spiritual quality to it. Now that's a pretty far out opinion, I think, in this. But I think there's a spiritual quality to it, and greed does not figure into it. That's just me, and you're probably the only person who will give it to you.
You say greed,
but with Ingo
agreed.
developed
I think it was luck.
6 stages. And that's what we train on CRB.
Okay.
There evidently are maybe 2 more stages out there. And one, stage 8, may be the sounds coming in, which would be letters. But for the most part, unless there's some significance to the letters, they don't come in on the signal line.
Wow.
You may get a name. One of the big ones, if we have time here.
Go ahead.
I think it was Pat Price was working at SRI, and the CIA was somewhat skeptical. So they figured, well, have somebody from the CIA give us a target, and we'll put this. Actually, I think it probably was Ingo Swan.
Okay.
And so the guy gave them the coordinates of a cabin he had in the woods.
Okay.
And they sent it out to SRI. Ingo worked it on a Friday. And went there. So this is very boring, but there's something really neat over here. And went ahead and explained a very secure facility, 2-person rule, code words, and sent that up. Monday morning, the FBI came to SRI and was willing to arrest people because Bill had found an NSA site and had come up with the code words for several projects they were working.
That's nuts, man. That is nuts. That is nuts.
That was early on.
I mean, really, what is going on here, and why hasn't this been more exploited? I mean, we know the Russians do the same thing, kind of, right?
Bill, you turned it over to DIA.
What the fuck?
And then tell the rest of the story. DIA turned the project over to who, and then what did they ostensibly do with it?
Okay, we went to DIA, and I stayed as the commander for another, probably 18 months at that time, before I took off for Europe again.
Okay.
The project, let me say this real quick. The Red Book I talked about.
Yep.
When I got the Red Book, we had 106 taskings down. 53 had been ruled by the customer as of highly significant.
Okay.
Now, intelligence information reports are rated when they go out there. And if you put out a report and you get one back saying this is of some significance, that, 10% of the time, 50% of the time, they weren't saying you were on target. They were saying that this is good information. It's true information. We have verified it through other sources at other times. Wow. So 50, no other platform at that time, this was the mid-'80s, late 80s, had that kind of success.
Yeah, right. That's a lot.
Eventually, yes, that's...
So let me ask you this.
We got away from this remote viewing.
Okay, why?
We started doing things like tarot card readers, and this is after my time. This is all hearsay.
That's when it went to DIA and then to another agency,
we have to explain.
I think it came back to the Army. The CIA canceled in the end.
Right.
And
okay, we have a few minutes.
You know that the one thing we always had to fight was the giggle factor. Everybody wanted to task us, but they didn't want anybody else to know that they were tasking us.
All right, Bill, let me ask you this. Bill, we got
they didn't want to be laughed at.
We got about 3 minutes to go. So let me ask this.
Okay.
Are you wondering?
That's a perfect question.
Okay, let me ask you this real quick. You wonder? I mean, you're talking very freely about this. Isn't some of this stuff kind of classified or whatever?
In '95, it was declassified. the CIA, and what I think is a colossal mistake, and I got to watch what I say here, declassified a lot of the sessions.
Okay.
Which, if you look at, would tell you what we're interested in. And one of the ones I did, I've been tiptoeing around saying anything about it because, and this is 30 years ago.
Tell us.
But this was some information on something that had happened in Afghanistan when the Russians were there.
Okay.
And at the time,
80s.
DIA said, no, the Russians don't have that technology. And the Army, our premier collection unit in the Army said, yes, our source has told us. And so I viewed it over several weeks and came back and not only confirmed the Army's, in this case, that technology was there, but I identified the source that the Army was running.
All right, I got one last question.
And that's all declassified, but shouldn't be. Yes.
One last question.
Speaking of the Russians,
go ahead.
Yes.
Now, they supposedly have a very successful program. Now, the U.S. unfunded, your project, I guess.
Yes.
But is the Russian project still running, do you know? And why would they unfund, the U.S. project if it was that successful, particularly where the Russians seem to prove that, they can get a lot out of it?
Ingalls Swan was at a conference one time, international, and the Russians, one of the Russian remote viewing controllers came over and was talking to him, asked him how he kept the viewers from going insane.
Wow.
The reason I think we did was the bad publicity with using psychics to target U.S. assets.
Yep.
And the second thing, we had gotten away from remote viewing solely and into other more esoteric fields, which may work. I don't know. Tarot cards and contact
2 minutes. All right, we got 2 minutes. Let me ask you this.
The Russians, do you think they still have a program?
Yeah, that's my other question. Is it still going on somewhere?
I don't know if we have a program.
Would you know?
Yeah. I suspect. I think I would.
Yep.
I would suspect that we do. There's not a unit doing this, I believe, but people are contacted and as contractors for a specific
right. Well,
target.
I'm going to say just like these
being used nowadays. I have no direct knowledge.
Well, the people that X used to work for, they outsource it. I mean, doesn't that make most sense? Is that they outsource it so then you don't leave that much of a paper trail, within the government? Just outsource
it. Yes, to an extent. One of the questions I got was, what did Paul Smith do this week? And I would say, well, he did a Russian biological warfare site. He did a new submarine site. And they said, yeah, well, how much did that take? And I would say about 10 hours, 12 hours. And he said, well, what did you do the rest of the week? The generals were concerned that they weren't getting the money's worth.
See, that's so stupid. Yeah, well, that's good. That's good. Get it out of the military, outsource it, and you don't have to put up with that nonsense. Hey, listen, Bill Ray, I got to tell you something. You got to come back again. Can you teach us how to remote view?
Of course.
Okay, Raven, you're going to be the first one. Okay, let's see if you can teach Raven how to remote view. Okay,
I got another quick one here.
Quick, yes. Go ahead, switch.
Sure. Okay. Yes, Bill, of course, when you guys practice, you did a lot of things we might consider mundane, like photographs and specific coordinates, because you got to get feedback, right? But
yes.
Every once in a while, they threw in a really weird red herring or something, like coordinates on another planet or a UFO sighting. Did you ever get one of those, and what did you see?
Yes, I did. In fact, there was a site, a series somebody was working. An incident occurred off the coast of Argentina. A Argentina minesweeper was found floating with nobody on it. Everything. This was 1981. I think San Agustin Bay. I viewed it in '85. They sent me back there. I'm a paratrooper. I'm a ranger. I've jumped out of planes. I've held down mountains.
Yes.
5 combat tours in the Mideast. Viewing that site is the most afraid I've ever been in my life.
What happened to them?
And when I think back now, I think if I'm being shot at, I can remember, I was afraid then, but I don't feel it.
What happened
when
to
I
them?
think back to that UFO abduction site, I can feel the fear right now.
What happened?
What
happened to them?
They were abducted.
Okay, it was, and this is the only side I ever had trouble viewing. They had to move me back and forth. Skip Atwater was the monitor.
Go ahead.
I eventually hit the site. It was a beautiful day off the coast, boat going there, very professional. And then it was complete and utter panic. The water was boiling, colors, it almost was like a negative. There was a huge ship over the minesweeper in the air. There was something underwater also going on. The water was bubbling. There was a complete feeling of insanity and terror. Some people were staying at their stations. Most were running around screaming.
Okay.
Nobody could get control. There was just utter panic and chaos. And then the ship was empty.
Wow.
Wow.
Bill, that's amazing because I've had pretty close contact with one remote viewer, and she has expressed the same kind of attachment, emotional attachment to a type of scene in a UFO alien abduction scenario. She has the same, almost word for word initial.
You hear that scenario in almost dozens of stories like that where people come upon ships or yachts or whatever. No one's there. Like meals are still warm, drinks are still poured, and no one is there. And it happens a lot.
You think it's just folklore until right now. It's not folklore.
Yeah. And it's as I say right now, I'm afraid.
Hey, Bill, let's give him while he's afraid. Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you, Bill. So listen, come on again.
Thank you, guys.
Come on again and teach us. And we'll start with Raven how to remote view. Okay, and then we'll all go to the racetrack.
I am so into this.
We'll go to the racetrack. We'll go to the casino.
It's 100%.
Okay.
I've got some great books to recommend, Raven.
Wow.
Shoot me an email for sure.
It's already taken shape.
Look
Thank
at
you,
Paul
Bill.
Smith's book.
Yes, and Paul Smith has done the pendulum dowsing too, as well. Very interesting.
Yep, he's done several. And Paul's a great writer, very entertaining.
Very good.
Thank you, Bill.
Several of the remote viewers that came forward are just stellar. I mean, you can tell great character and just a fascinating experience in the military and the remote viewing program.
Thank you, Bill. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Matt. This was great.
We'll talk to you soon, okay? We'll talk to you soon, brother.
For sure.
Okay.
That was riveting, Bill.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was awesome.
Wow. Why don't we take
Hey, Bill, let me get something straight here.
Okay.
When we were sitting around in some guest house drinking beers with you and me and about 3 or 4 others, and we were worried about the Soviets this and the KGB and the GIU, you were worried about more than that, huh?
Yeah.
And you never said anything to us.
Who picked up the tab? Who picked up the tab? I don't need a remote view to know who picked up the tab there. Listen, why don't we take a commercial break? And we'll be right back after listening. You're listening to Mack Maloney's Military Exile Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
I was in the hospital with my son for 18 months.
When he got injured, I wasn't prepared, but I knew I had to be strong.
When I was told about John's injury, I was in complete shock. I just remember rushing into his room and giving him a big hug and letting him know I was there.
These veterans and families are just a few of the heroes we serve at Homes for Our Troops. For thousands of severely injured veterans, everyday life is filled with barriers.
It was really the little things throughout the house. Counters that you can't roll up to. I had to drag my wheelchair down steps.
I want to help, but he is so determined.
At Homes for Our Troops, we build specially adapted custom homes with features like wheelchair access, roll-in showers, and automatic door openers that allow them to function independently and focus on their recovery and family.
This house is freedom. It's hope. It's a new beginning.
This house has given me my family back.
To learn more, visit hfotusa.org.
We went to Mack Maloney's Military Exile Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. This is Mack Maloney. What a show. What a show we have ongoing for you tonight. Very quickly, Juan-Juan's here, Cobra's here, Switchy's here, Raven is here, Agent X is here, and also our good friend, Willie Clubb is here. We'll leave him out. And also our good friend, Bill Ray, who was part of the U.S. military's remote viewing research project back in the 90s. I guess you could call it that. And, Bill, you've really, in the previous segment, you really told us a lot of things that I'm very surprised about. And so just hang with us because we're going to do another, weird segment on this thing that someone sent me this story. about a place called Skeleton Lake. It's in the Himalayas. It's in that part of the world. And it's crazy. And I'm just going to say to Raven, so did I introduce everyone? Is there anyone here I didn't introduce? Raise your hand.
Just now?
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Okay. So, Raven, so how do we get on the story? I don't even remember. Did I send it to you? Did you send it to me?
I think you sent it to me, and then I looked it up, and I was just sold. This is wild.
Yeah, go ahead. Just give us the tell us what happened, what it's about. Skeleton Lake, where is it?
Yeah, so it's Rupkund, I think is how you pronounce it, lake. This is in the Indian Himalayas. It's 16,500 feet above sea level. This was discovered in 1942. And there are estimated 600 to 800 skeletal remains have been found in and around this lake. And I looked up pictures of it, and it's so bizarre because it's on top of like a mountain seemingly, and there's just this little lake. So studies show most of the bodies that have been found are taller, quote unquote, than the average person. And thankfully no babies or children were ever found, as far as we know. So that's good. No arms or weapons were found in the area either. It wasn't a trade route. So it kind of will lead into what I'll talk about in a minute as far as some of the theories, as far as how these people got here. And the theories include really weird stuff, I think. Sorry. So theories include an Indian king and his wife and their followers died here in a blizzard approximately 870 years ago. Another theory is a group of Indian soldiers tried to invade Tibet in 1841 and were ultimately killed. And that left about 70 men to try to find their way home. And they basically died throughout that area and they were scattered. Another theory is a group of Japanese soldiers who were crossing through the Himalayas during World War II died there. However, this has been disproved because the bones were basically they were aged and they're too old. So that has been kind of crossed off, but it is still a theory I wanted to mention. Mm-hmm. It's a possible cemetery where bodies of plague victims were buried. Another theory is it's a folktale which talks of the goddess Nanda Devi manifesting a hailstorm as punishment to wipe out a group of pilgrims who were playing music and dancing on her sacred ground.
How dare they?
No.
Playing music.
Yeah. How dare you play music and dance? That is straight up the devil.
And dance.
I mean, I don't want to disrespect her. But.
No, go ahead.
Another theory is they talk about it's a possible pilgrimage discovered through inscriptions in local temples that was dated between 8th and 10th centuries. And it's also kind of speculated that it's a mass ritual suicide. Oh. But I feel like a lot of these theories can just have holes poked in them because of the age of the bones. Right. And I'm going to get into that right now.
I mean, how did they discover them? How did they know they were in there in the first place?
So this British forest ranger stumbled upon it in 1942.
Wow, man!
I would hate to have his job because I mean, you're just kind of minding your own business, and then, wow.
He was fishing, and all of a sudden he pulled this out.
He caught a bonefish. Whoa.
Oh.
Go ahead, please. So let me ask you this. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. No. Go ahead.
I'm going to throw it to Bill. Okay, Bill. Now you've heard the story. This is probably the first time you've heard the story. It's the first time I've heard it.
Yes.
What's going on, in your opinion? What could be going on there? This is a lake with thousands of skeletons, and no one can quite figure out why.
Yeah. I think Raven came up with a lot of the possible explanations without going into some of the more esoteric ones.
Okay. Why not?
which
okay,
remote viewing.
Could you
could task that, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
You could task that. Yeah, you could task that, and it seems to me that sites land maintains feelings for things that have happened. You go to Dachau.
Yes.
It's still a horrible place.
Yes.
If you go to the Vietnam Memorial, you'll get things like loyalty, sacrifice, courage, bravery.
Yes.
Those kind of things. So,
yeah, deep feelings. Right.
It's like emotional persistence. It sort of
very good,
embeds in the material.
Yep.
Yes.
It has
One of the
memory.
things. Yeah, one of the things we get in controlled remote viewing is we call it emotional impact and aesthetic impact. Aesthetic impact is how the site makes me feel. Emotional impact is how the people at the site are feeling.
Wow.
Yep. They're afraid, they're happy, they feel official, they feel boring, that kind of thing.
Is there a chance that this was just some big beach party and everyone fell into the lake? So, so if we said to you, Bill, in a future show, can we task you to actually look at this place and?
No.
Okay. Wow.
Because I know what I'm looking for, and my imagination will tell you that this was spring break 1918, and
things got out of control. Okay, all right.
Yeah, it would have to be somebody who had no idea what was going on.
Wow, that's
what the target
crazy,
was and what we want.
But that also
and we can come up with a tasking.
See, that also makes it legitimate. You know what I mean? That's also So that's why you can't say who's going to win the Kentucky Derby, because in your imagination, am I wrong there? You know, a horse is going to win the race. But if someone says what's happening in Cleveland that afternoon, at the train station.
Yes.
Wow, that is freaky, man.
Do you often have a lot of remote viewers remote view the same target, target blindly? Okay.
Yes.
Is it possible now? Obviously, it's possible for them all to be right, but are there times when everybody's wrong because they? I don't know. They get off on some tangent. Maybe somebody's leading them or whatever unconsciously.
Yes, emotional overlay can cause that. I would think if you targeted somebody such as Joe McMonaco, who's got a good reputation, and the viewer knew that Joe had worked it, instead of their intention being to get the target, would be to get what Joe got at his target. So that's a possibility. We do on future targets a thing called a associated remote viewing, where you remote view and you come back and report, but there's two possible targets out there, both very simple, a lake and a skyscraper. And what you do is you come back and say it's a skyscraper. And 24 hours later, you show the target to the viewer, give them the feedback. And they've set it up, if the Rams win on Sunday, we will show the skyscraper. And if the Packers win, we will show the lake.
So they're just using it as a symbol to kind of remove one step from the target to get maybe some of the emotion out of it.
It keeps it simple. Well, it's going into the future.
Okay.
And you have to give the feedback to make sure that whatever they view, you have to show it to them at the time.
Right. Bill.
So it's dangerous to think that a group of people, even if they all get the same thing, it could be wrong.
It could.
You can't rely on. Okay. Because I know there are some remote viewers that claim that their team got everything right, the same, and so it must be right. But then it could just be off on Okay,
Bill.
Good to know.
Hey, Bill.
There are things.
Now listen, let's just go back in time a little bit, like 30 seconds. You mentioned Packers and Rams. Okay, now we're going to get into So what were you saying there exactly? That someone would actually think if the Rams are going to win, I'm gonna remotely view a skyscraper instead of a lake, that type of thing. I mean, do I have that wrong?
No. Well, yes. Okay.
Okay. Good.
What you're going to do is you have a yes or no question.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
And the viewer knows nothing. Now the tasker will say, in 24 hours, if silver futures go up, I'm going to show him a lake. silver futures go down, I'm going to show him a skyscraper.
Okay.
But the viewer has no idea of anything going. He just goes out there and he takes the coordinates and he comes up eventually with either a skyscraper or a lake.
Okay.
And then the person bets money on the the results.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. No, wait a minute. That works
for Hell Putoff. Yeah.
Hold on.
They were.
Can this work for the stock market? Now we're talking.
This might be a 3-hour show. Yeah.
It doesn't always work. Once again, I bring in the greed factor.
That's how he's maintaining his lifestyle.
In fact, I have to interject at this point.
Go ahead.
Mac, you and I both had classic educations, but you didn't pay attention in Latin class.
Thank you.
Radix malorum est cupiditas.
Yeah, wow. I
Root
missed
of all
that.
evil is greed.
Oh.
Yeah.
Don't mix greed with this stuff.
See, but I'm sorry.
It's also biblical prophecy.
Yeah, but here's the thing: it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be like that. I don't think the cosmos should discriminate against people who want to gamble. I mean, why that? Why all of a sudden?
But don't some people use this to actually successfully win money?
Yes.
Some have, yes,
yeah, well,
and others have successfully lost money.
Well, that's when those people have a problem. It's only a problem if you're losing money. Listen, but here's the thing, though. What you've said, right? Wouldn't you be able to go into a casino? Sorry, with a pigeon. I don't want to use that word, but in kind of work it so he's going to tell you what's going to be the next hand on the next roll,
red or black or what number?
Something like that. Easy stuff that you can still win on.
Red and black, odd or even, but it takes so long to get the information.
Yeah. I mean, longer than a typical game. Yeah, okay, all right, I got it.
Once again, you go to bed on a horse race Monday.
Yeah.
So they should probably just get a real job.
Yep. There you go.
A real job. Wow. Okay.
There's got to be a way to figure this out.
Right. Yes.
Mac, we got to figure
out on it.
Yeah.
That's right. Absolutely.
Well, I'm going to take off.
Okay. Thank you, Bill. Let's give another round of applause, please. And we'll sweeten it up.
This again sometime.
Bill knew that.
It was great to meet you, Bill.
Let's get you back on.
Are you remote viewing your dinner? Is it going to be?
What are you going to have?
Fish?
What are you going to have to eat tonight?
Yeah. I won't tell you what Tom said about you guys, but you're actually pretty nice.
Oh, wow.
You better get to know us.
Yeah. Withhold judgment.
AKH&X.
All right, see you, Bill. All right.
Excellent job.
Thank
you.
I predict he's going to have meatballs.
Right
Swedish meatball. Hey, why don't we do this? Let's take a commercial break now. Welcome back, everyone, to Mack Maloney's Military Exile Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. This is, Macaroni. Wow, what a show this turned out to be. Very quickly, Juan-Juan is here. Coco had to leave early to go change the diapers on his young pig, and I mean a pig. Also, Switchy is here up there in Valley Creek, Michigan. 2 donuts into the day. Raven is here, classing up the show. Winona Raven.
What up?
Looking good. Here on Zoom.
Thank you.
And also, Willie Weddy Bulger is here with us. Channeling.
It's great to be here.
Channeling Willie Club, and also Asian
nice digs that Club is working out of.
Yeah, is that your cell?
Cave today.
Is that a foosball table in the background?
No, that's a pool table.
A pool table.
Oh, so that's a pool table. Okay.
Foosball.
Close.
Man. How 70s can you get?
Nice.
So when
70s.
X is here also. So listen, we've had
it's
an
bumper pool to be,
bumper pool.
Okay.
We've had an interesting show, and we have just a few more minutes to go to fill out the time slot. But we have to talk about our previous guest. His name is Bill Ray, and he was someone who was in the ran the military's remote viewing program in the 90s, this thing that we've talked about so many times on the show, but we've never talked to someone who was actually in it, and now we wound up talking to the guy who ran it for a little while. He's a friend of X, X was the one who suggested he be on the show, and he's a good guy. He's a regular, average guy who talks about this. Are we all in agreement? Right, we're all in agreement with that, right?
Yeah, good get.
And Matt, he was on the ground floor of all this.
Right. Yeah. And what he explained, and what was interesting, too, is that anytime we have anyone on the show that, says that they can look into the future, the thing that Juan-Juan and I always ask him is, can you tell us, the Super Bowl winning score or who's going to win the Kentucky Derby? Can you gamble?
Tell us what the freaking weather is going to be a week from now.
And they always say it doesn't work that way. What's interesting was what Bill told us was, it takes too long to figure out, hey, what's the next spin of the roulette wheel going to be? What are you going to pick up? Right. They can tell you 8 hours from now you're going to pick up 3 aces all of a sudden, right? But it's not going to do you any good. It involves time. It's not instantaneous, which I thought was very interesting. The other thing, too, is that this whole thing that he brought up where anyone can remote view, and we're going to train someone on the staff to remote view.
That's the class I'd like to take.
Yeah, her name is Raven, though. Too bad. And that you can actually, not only learn how to do it, but kind of get better at it, and so on and so forth. He was talking about that, which is kind of crazy, and also the fact that he just seems like a very down-to-earth, average guy who just happened to be a major in Army intelligence. He didn't hold back with us, which was cool. So I think what we'll do is, we talked about this a little bit off air. Let me just throw this out. We'll have Bill come back on. We will pick 3 geographic locations, because what he told us was you cannot tell the person who you want them to remote view what they're looking for. You tell them a location, and they tell you what's happening there now, in the past. He said the future's a little sketchy, but and he gave us some unbelievable examples that this stuff works. It's not coincidence. I mean, he told us a story in the previous segment about a guy who, sketched a secret Russian submarine, and he got it right down to the slanted missile tubes, So, there's something going on here. So we'll give him 3 places, see if he can identify them. We won't tell them what, where they are, but one of them will be someplace up near where Raven lives. In that kind of area. Maybe there's a famous person up there that we can key on. Let's just say for our little geographic area,
we'll brewery.
We'll pick up some bar that people that we frequent. Give him the right, and then
what are we going to give him? Coordinates or something?
Yeah, we'll give him coordinates. Yes.
Well, you can write down the specific name of what it is.
Yes.
Put it on a piece of paper. Put it inside an envelope. You generate like 6 or 8 random numbers on the outside, and then what you do is you give him those numbers, and then he starts to remote view.
But what are the numbers? Why
like that?
But why do random numbers?
The numbers don't. You can use dice or whatever.
Yeah.
But why do
the numbers are arbitrary?
But why?
Just gets it started.
But why? Why are the numbers arbitrary? Then you ask them the question. You mean?
No, yeah. But what they do is when I would practice it, I had the envelopes all set up.
Yep.
And there's like eight numbers, and you sit down at a table. You got your paper ready. You read off the numbers, and then you do this cursor line, and then you sit and you start to try to get impressions. What colors do you see?
Okay.
What textures? And then after a while, when you get more into a deeper state, you start drawing. So it needs to be something. I think it needs to be something more than just Joe's Pub.
Okay, we'll have to do a staff meeting.
What are the numbers?
But ask him.
What are the numbers?
Just contact him and say what general kinds of things
we want to do something.
But Club just said.
How do we set it up?
But Club just asked the question. What are the numbers? Why do random numbers?
Those numbers you're talking about.
He just said they're completely. It just gets it started. It just the numbers are assigned to the envelope that has the target in it. The numbers.
But they don't have any bearing on the.
No. But you have to have that to get it started.
But inside the envelope, can it be coordinates?
Yes, it can be like geographic coordinates, but it's going to, if it's, it's got to be something recognizable, something that he can tap into, like maybe the Empire State Building or something, It's got to be something.
You can give him like a latitude, longitude type of thing.
Yeah.
Right, but it's got to relate to something that he's going to be interesting and pick up remote viewing wise. People can't put like a blank sheet in there. It doesn't mean anything. And it just can't pick coordinates out of the clear blue and be a field in Poughkeepsie somewhere.
I got a great one. That I've been thinking about when you mentioned that. Amelia Earhart.
Yeah.
We get him to go to Fiji or someplace remote view.
But it's not persons, though. Is it?
You're going to have to have a very, very specific target.
Yeah.
Like
is
what?
she there?
It's the Fiji.
Like is she on a Fiji island or something?
I mean, if we knew where she was, we.
Right, you could. I guess you could say the present location of the remains of Amelia Earhart.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Do that with like DB Cooper too. Like, would that be doable?
Yeah.
Because he like estimated he was going to land. Where was it?
In
Arizona?
Up in,
he's locked in my fruit cellar, so we know where that.
Okay, problem solved. Cool.
You can't locate the DB Cooper bar in Nashua.
Yeah, it's
got to be the real DB Cooper.
Yeah, there's a lot of evidence that he might be just his bones are hanging in a tree somewhere because he went out. You know how he went out of that airplane?
I just need to know.
I thought he was faking it. I thought he faked it, and then he's alive and well and driving
I don't know.
I just want the bag of money that he's got with him.
It wasn't even. It was like $100,000. It wasn't like he could have asked for $100 million. They would have given it to him.
Yeah, it wasn't a ton.
But he went out the rear ramp of a 727. They used to have the rear ramp. And he went out. He opened that. Yeah, well, you usually don't, So, so anyway,
I don't care what kind of a parachute he's got.
So okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, so let's this is our staff meeting. The 4 minutes we have left. So that's what we'll do.
Let's brainstorm that.
We'll come up with 3 locations. That we will ask him. Okay, and we'll go right through, the procedure. Put in an envelope. Here are the numbers. However you want to do it, but we'll know what the locations are ahead of time. Obviously, and maybe we'll let the audience.
Let's think
know,
about the process for a second. Will that be good radio as he's trying to figure that out?
Well, see if we know.
Well, he'll have to figure it out ahead of time, won't he?
Too, Juan. I don't know how that will translate to radio.
He'll have to figure it out ahead of time because these targets take a long time, and he can't be interrupted.
All right, yeah. So it's not going to be instantaneous. So
he can't be shooting the breeze with them as he's trying to figure it out.
He's not just going to tune into it.
Right.
So
how long, Switchy? We got 2 minutes. How long will it take him? Can we give him the locations?
I don't know. It could be a half hour.
Not a week
for each target.
Oh, really? Okay.
You think that's all? I thought that
it depends.
I know. I thought it'd take all day.
It could be a half hour. It just depends on the specific target.
He said
depends on the individual.
Too, yeah. All right, we'll ask him.
Well, he's getting older now, so he might be a little slower on the take. Got to give him extra time.
Wowee. Okay.
The rest of us.
So
I know I need extra time.
Okay.
All right.
He needs extra time to eat that donut.
Talking about what are we going to do with Bill next time?
Well, we'll have him on again. Yeah.
We'll think about it.
We
got a lot to think about.
Yeah, we'll give him 3
Can
times.
I get back to the recommendation?
Go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead, X.
Okay. This guy, I've never met anybody like him.
Yes.
Independent, as much as it's hard for you all to believe.
2 minutes.
Independent of the remote viewing stuff.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
This guy did everything you can do in the Army.
Yes.
He was Ranger, Airborne, all of that stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
Enlisted. Then he got out as a major. And the reason he got out as a major is because he was former enlisted. So he was at that age where you really get out.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of taking his retirement and going home and getting a job working for another corporation or something,
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
he got drawn back into the Army as a Department of the Army civilian, which is hum-ho.
Yes.
Department of the Army, except he's really a MISA, Military Intelligence Career Accepted Program, which means he's a counterintelligence agent. Then into his 70s, he gets deployed to Iraq, Afghanistan, everything else into his 70s. Now, how did his earlier experience with the remote viewing stuff impact that? I think that's an interesting story.
Okay, so we literally have 1 minute left. I want to ask the question that Coco would ask. Why would he be telling us? Why is he telling us this? Because no one's asked him before? X, I'm asking you.
I think the guy's older. When he came to us, he was 5 to 10 years older than all of us majors.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So he's older. Right. I don't think he gives a rat's for anything anymore.
But he didn't sign anything. He didn't sign any security agreement. I can't believe that they didn't tell him you cannot talk.
No, of course he said it was a SAP, a special access program. So of course he did. But the CIA declassified it, according to him, in 1995.
So he can talk about it.
Declassified it. That's no longer a SAP.
Okay.
Right.
And Ted Koppel came out with it on Nightline, and they were downplaying it. It was BS.
Yeah, that
but, because it was successful.
Yep.
But they tried to downplay it and say it didn't really work.
Okay.
And so he probably thought like all these former secretaries of defense who write books who aren't supposed to say anything, and then they write a book and make $1 zillion. He said, like everybody else, I want to talk about it. I want to talk about my experiences. At least he hasn't written a book on it.
Not yet.
It would be fascinating, though, wouldn't it?
Oh, my God. Yeah, he should.
He should.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. Okay, well, listen. The time has come to end the show. So let's
That's
do
unfortunate.
Let's do the
for another
plugs. Yeah.
hour.
It was good. Yeah, he was good, and I'm glad that everyone was here to experience. Bill Ray. He's an interesting guy. I think he knows a lot of stuff. I'm very happy and also puzzled that he opened up so much to us.
It was amazing.
And good of X to help set that up tonight.
X, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we can kiss X's.
And I bet X was listening to every word to make sure there wasn't anything untoward that was
He didn't talk about any of the business he did with me.
Right.
Okay. All right.
Well, then maybe you ought to tell us some stuff.
Yeah, we'll get him. We'll get him drunk next time. I heard everything. I heard everything that X did down the drunken,
I want to
down
hear the
thirsty
exposing
moose.
of X.
Yeah, I heard it all. Believe me, 2 beers and X, and he's giving away secrets. But anyway, listen.
Yes.
Yes.
Let's do it.
Listen. So let's go to the plugs. Okay, Homes for Our Troops, HFOT, Homes for Our Troops. They are a military charity that designs homes specifically for injured war veterans from the Iraqi and also Afghani war. Soldiers who have lost their limbs, and they design and they build these houses for them. So everything's a little bit wider. It's easy to get up the steps and things like that. And then they build the home, and then they give them the keys. No mortgage, nothing. They deserve it. Homes for Our Troops, 88 cents of every dollar you give to them goes to our veterans, okay? And so look them up on Google, Homes for Our Troops, great military charity. Also, our good friend, Ross Sharp, and his mad band of Englishmen are putting back together a warplane from World War II called the Mosquito. We talk about it every week. It was made of wood, built by cabinet makers in the UK when the UK was really at a low point, trying to hold off the Nazis. And they built this wooden airplane, put 2 Rolls-Royce engines on it, and it turned out to be the fastest thing in World War II for about 2 years. So fast they didn't even bother to put guns in a lot of them because, as Juan-Juan says, they would outfly the bullets. Outfly the bullets, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. The People's Mosquito Project, get involved, and also Juan-Juan has volunteered to be the first civilian to be brought up in this warplane once it's finished and airworthy, and he is not going to wear a parachute. Correct, JJ?
That's right.
That's right. Just a scarf.
But I am going to have Eileen make a cool scarf for me. A nice,
okay. Yes, I can see that picture of just the scarf.
In-flight scarf.
Okay, good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, good. We are also a podcast, and going to podbean.com.
We are a podcast.
We're everywhere. We're everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yep, we're everywhere. We're on Alexa.
Pick the platform we're on it somehow.
Right. A lot of people write to us care of Apple Podcasts, as it turns out. So a lot of people hear us on Alexa and so on. But just Google Mack Maloney's Military X-Files podcast, and you'll find one of the 28 platforms that we are on. Also, exactly. I know that X wants to plug his friend's book. Can you do it quickly there, X? Your friend's
Very quickly. He is really pumped up about it.
I'll bet.
He's the name of the book is Wolf of Clontarf, the Irish, the Vikings, and the Foreigners of the World, just in time for St. Patrick's Day.
Yes.
He's been getting emails from literally all continents except for Antarctica so far.
Really? Yeah. Okay.
Loving the book.
Loving the book.
So if you want a good St. Patrick's Day parade, parade present, then Wolf of Clontarf.
There you go. Okay.
Okay.
And there's Club.
I actually have a copy of the book. I gave it to Eileen.
There she goes. Yep.
Anybody who's named Eileen has to be Irish in some way.
Go ahead. Yep.
And she's digging into it.
She's digging into it. Tell your friend there, actually.
She likes the cover, that's for sure.
She likes, the cover has Fabio on it, of course. Okay, thank you, X.
But here's the thing: we just finished watching the Vikings on Netflix.
Oh, right.
So we have an affinity for how
well,
cool
the book
the
is
Vikings
about
are.
how the Irish
reading this book.
Yes. The Vikings.
Yes, it doesn't end well for the Vikings.
The Vikings,
Yeah,
the pansies. The Vikings are pansies, and the Irish kick them out.
It looks like the Vikings can't do anything wrong. It's like they run into some complications here and there.
So they run into the mix, the drunk mix. So, listen, so I want to thank everybody. Look, I want to thank you.
Hey.
I can say that because I'm one. Look, thank you for Phil Orbanes for coming on earlier in the show. It seems like a million years ago, but talking about the latest in a series of female spies during World War II, intelligence agents that really helped. I know at least one of them, Winston Churchill thought, shortened the war by 6 months. So thank you to Phil for coming on. Also, once again, thanks to Bill Ray for coming on and telling us the inside story about the military's remote viewing program that happened in the 90s. I don't believe that that they ended it. I think it just went somewhere else. He's going to be back on. So I'm going to thank Cobra because he had to go and milk the cows. Also, Club. Bacon, right. Yes, right. Thank you, Club, for looking in on us.
Thank you for having me.
And the bags of
they probably outsourced that stuff down at that place in Burlington that I did some contract work.
It
begins with an M.
Yeah. We all know what that is.
Ensign Corp.
Thank you. What doesn't? Thank you, Club, for joining us. Thank you, X, for joining us. X, thank you for joining us. Okay. X.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, thank you, and for recommending the guest. Okay. Raven, thank you for joining us. Raven, thanks for sticking with us. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's so fun as normal, as usual.
Thank you, Raven.
It's not normal here.
It's not normal.
Yeah, no. It's normal for me. So I'm with my people.
It's the new normal.
The new normal. Oh, oh God. Okay, well, thank you, Switchy. Thank you, Switch. Thank you.
My pleasure.
And also
fun show tonight.
I like the hair tonight. It looks good. You got the path right lined up pretty good. No, you got two
very
paths.
quickly. Put it on. Wow! Holy cow! Yikes! Did you buy that? Or did you?
Phyllis Diller.
$10 on Amazon.
$10. Okay. All right. I'm still not convinced.
Delivery.
Juan, ask Raven if she knows who Phyllis Diller is.
Yes, and her husband Fang.
Fang. Do you know who?
Wait, who?
No.
Look up Phyllis Diller. Google Phyllis Diller.
Phyllis Diller?
The answer is
Wait.
The answer is
Is that?
Go ahead.
Am I thinking of like Ben Stiller's parents?
No.
Diller.
She was a lady that said she did her hair by going through the car wash with the windows down.
Yeah.
Right.
Last name is Diller.
She sounds like a bad bitch. I love her already. I don't know who it is, but okay. I'll look her up. Phyllis Diller.
On that, why don't we end the show on that note, okay? Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Raven. Thank you, Switch. Thank you, Club. Thank you, X. Thank you, Coco, and thank you, Juan-Juan. We really appreciate it. Thank you, Phil Orbanes, and also Bill Ray. I want to call him Billy Ray. Doesn't Billy Ray sound a little bit better than Bill Ray? Yes? No?
No.
Okay.
Billy Ray Cyrus.
No.
Yeah.
We're talking about
because then
the
you're
Old West,
gonna.
yes.
Yep, Billy Ray Cyrus,
Yeah,
and
you're
he's
gonna,
like.
you're going to pollute half
Yeah.
So.
Bill Ray is so much better.
Bill Ray's cool.
Bill Ray.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for everyone.
People with two first names are cool.
Are they really? Like Juan-Juan?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you for listening to us. Until the next time you hear us, this is Mac for the entire gang saying be safe, be happy, and
bye-bye.